Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer, and welcome to our show dedicated to March Madness.
March Madness! Also known as who the F is competing at the upcoming 2018 World Figure Skating Championships.
Yeah, insert name here.
Jonathan, I am not really sure who's competing. I've been enjoying, I always enjoy a good announcement when someone withdraws.
A nice mix-up.
Not that I wish that at anyone, but it always makes the day a little bit more exciting. But I have to say, Friday there was an announcement that Karen Chen withdrew, that Tara Kane and Danny O'Shea withdrew. Am I missing anyone else, or was that just the double whammy? Was it a triple whammy? Or...
I mean, obviously for the class.
It's a double whammy, yes. So the weird thing about this is that I don't know if Ice Network was on vacation before the World Championships, but they didn't even put out one of those articles where skaters said that they were unfortunately injured and working very hard for next season. And so it's a little bit radio silent on what the official reasons are. I've heard that Tara Kane injured her knee again, is what I've heard. That was kind of the word.
That was the one that surprised me. Obviously, I don't think anyone expected Ashley to ever compete at Worlds.
Ashley took a few months ago, she made a decision to take a step back from the sport, Jonathan. That was how
what an interesting way in which you're executing that.
Yes.
But I would say that the Tara and Danny thing did sort of surprise me.
Yeah, they were on a high. They were at the Olympics, and they were at the Four Continents, actually winning. And then it's something, I guess, in training it happened. So, and that knee was a big problem before. So to have the same injury again going forward is a little bit worrisome for her. So hopefully they can get that sorted out. But I don't know any details or anything about that. So she was posting on Instagram. I'm sorry?
For Deanna will now be at her first Worlds, right?
Deanna will be at her first World Championship. So I'm very excited. That's very, she's about 38 years young. No, she is, I think she's 33, 34. Yeah, that's first Worlds, youth jitters. But
she's hitting inspirational story pamphlets everywhere right now.
Yes, and they did a quad throw. It was a little two-footed, but it was done on Instagram the other day. So we're gunning to make the free skate. Okay, who knows who's going to make the free skate? Anyone can do it if they skate well. I mean, this is going to be a dumpster fire for World Championships. Because Camille and Drew from Canada, who are now a couple, I think it was that acro yoga that really brought them together. And
romantically, okay,
yes, great. Well, I think, this is how I feel about acro yoga. When you're like, can you hold me by my left butt cheek? And it's like, and then I'm going to rotate, and you're going to hold my. It is more sexual than pair skating. Okay, it's just. Full on.
Okay.
How could it not bring people together?
Correct.
It's the chemistry that really worked. But they're going to be there, but they don't really have a throw triple twist, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem in the short program. So there's some shifting that's going to be going on. And
I'm intrigued, someone like Deanna and Nate, of course, they have the inside scoop of being in Florida, but these would be hard. Even Mariah Bell, I mean, again, you could sort of speculate, and it is your job as an alternate first or second to be prepared. But it would be a hard motivator for me.
I'm sure you've never been an understudy, right? Ever, right?
Sadly, once in a blue moon, I am.
Now, imagine you're like an understudy at the Met, or an understudy, at some big stage, some big opera.
Yeah.
And you're in rehearsal, and you hear something like, Jonathan, the baritone has nodules. And in that moment, are you like, or do you go, oh, that's so sad. I mean, how do you, yes, walk us through how this happens as an alternate. Yes.
So, okay, well, there's a couple of things, and each house specifically has different ways in which you understudy. But so it also depends on my confidence and my ability to be better than that person in the role. Mm-hmm. There are some times when the cover is itching. We say cover, understudy, is itching to go on, right? Mm-hmm. If it's a role I know and a role I can do, it's get out of my way, let me do this. Other times you're like, I don't want to invite the comparison because they really can do this a couple notches better than I, so I'm happy to be in this position. So that's a big motivating factor. So like if I'm Mariah Bell or if I'm Deanna and Nate, it will depend on really how ready I am, is my excitement towards going. It's not going to be exciting just to go if I feel like they're going to be like, woof, no wonder they were the alternate, or you know what I mean? So it's like that kind of balance. But if she strikes me as aggressive, and they probably have been training.
Well, you know, Mr. Peterson's very aggressive, so
sure, she's like, let me at it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you're like chasing her down the hall. She's like running to Milan.
Is that like an Oscar? Like you know, like, oh, too bad, you know.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's that, like, you have to take that moment to, like, assess the situation and be empathetic, and then you're like, okay, great, so where's the dressing room?
Yes.
Yeah. It's hard to be gracious, and you just have to let people say you're saving the day.
I imagine Mariah Bell has known she's going. I think Ashley told her, but I imagine she's had a good idea that she could be in this position, because I never expected to see Ashley on competitive ice again after nationals. I was like, oh, maybe a pro-am or something.
But could have feasibly seen Karen still keeping her slot.
Jonathan, we had 3 girls on the Olympic team, and I thought 2 of them were hot messes that anything could happen after the Olympics, you know.
Right.
The only one I expected was sturdy German Brady Tennell. I'm like, she will be there at the World Championships. So that's all.
And I fear I would be that kind of skater that, like, Mariah had, like, you know, not her finest season. So maybe she's actually itching to, like, throw away the material and start now. But yet you still have to, like, maintain. It's sort of that Jason Brown approach. It's like you just are ready to actually just scrap the season.
You have to think for Mariah. I mean, look, the U.S. ladies are not going to retain 3 spots. There is no way. I do not blame anyone for this. It's not like, oh, someone screwed the pooch. Like, there's no feasible way that this will happen. So I think you have to look at it that way and just go in. And look, this could ignite a year or 2 in her career that moving forward she could have some good results. So I think, and then you see what happens at that point. So hopefully for her, she's in a good place. And we haven't seen her like posting things about training, but we haven't seen her not posting things about training either. She's been a little respectfully subdued as others are having the Olympic spotlight. She hasn't been one of those skaters like thirsting for Instagram attention where it's it's like, oh, Chloe Kim is visiting you at the Olympics. Where's Adam? It's not been one of those situations. So yeah,
and it's always the worlds after an Olympics that, again, it's all this hypothetical stuff like, what kind of skater would I have been? And it was like, I think I would always be opportunistic about these particular worlds. A lot of people can sneak in here. A lot of people have snuck in during this time, and their world medal counts just as much as someone else's the year before the Olympics. You know what I mean? Like,
for some reason, the U.S. has a very horrible track record, and maybe it's just our culture, and we're all Olympics all the time. And that we consider Olympics to be the end-all, be-all, whereas other countries, they kind of seem more like sportsmen. A little bit, where they're like, well, I will go to the Olympics, and then I will go to the Worlds, and I don't know where that accent, or whatever that was, came from, but
non-American. Okay.
Yeah, I like, you know, like, I feel like in Europe, they are a little bit more respectful of everything, where in the U.S., we're such, like, fame whores, that we are all Olympics all the time. And
there's probably so much hoopla in trying to take advantage of that brief period of time right after the Olympics, where places may be interested in having skaters.
Like, I'm curious, just like, you know how NBC like turns these kids into stars, and there's like a star-making machine, and how they publicize this. I wonder if it's the same in other countries and what that experience is like.
That's my real question about Zagitova, is, you know, she just won an Olympic gold medal, and she is going to the World Championships, which, again, makes me like her. You know, it's not like Adelina, where she was like, take the medal and run, you know. But I would think, like, is her publicity tour after the Olympics one like it would be in North America? Because if it is, there's no way she can maintain that level of training. But if she goes and shows up like I'm assuming she will, it will imply they held off on all the fanfare.
Well, I did see a photo of Medvedeva and Zagitova with their coaches and President Putin together, and based on how the news is going, I believe that he could be our president at any moment too. So we should say that that was a big honor, and that we think that that was wonderful, and obviously that probably inspired her to get back into training for the World Championships. And I don't know. I think that it's interesting with Zagitova because there's been a little bit of a vulnerability in the short program, so I'm really curious to see if the Olympics strengthened her or if it put a little bit of vulnerability to where she could have a mistake in the short program, feel the pressure, and kind of open the door for a surprise upset for someone.
Well, because a surprise could literally outside. I mean, I do think it will be almost impossible for her to lose, but crazier things have happened. Yeah. But there's a real. We're right back to the shuffle of what can happen underneath. But Caitlin, you know, you think intellectually on paper, you're like, well, obviously she'll be second, but that's not an obviously sort of situation. So
I don't think necessarily. I mean, that was such a big.
Well, Kaba's the question mark for me. She could really come in, and if she's like plowing ahead and just goes for broke and delivers like we know, like she did at the very beginning of the season, she could switch things up too. So
yeah,
and
to me.
Is back to Mishan, right?
Yeah.
After the Olympics.
To me, it's always the more unexpected the result at the Olympics, the more emotion attached. The more, so Osman has always struggled with the free skate. So the fact that she was able to pull that together and she had the illness before the Olympics, is that going to, is she going to have more of a down than someone else? Like, how much is your down after the Olympics?
I would think she's on a publicity train also with the team gold and her bronze. A lot is required of you, in appearances. I'm not saying she is making poor choices at all. I'm just saying, like, you have functions to sort of help promote the sport and help promote all this sort of stuff. So,
and you have to.
I don't know how you
Stars on Ice tour. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because I think if anyone. In the rare, I think Zagitova will win, but I think she may not win the short program. And I think that would be interesting. I think Costner, you have to look at for a medal. Daleman.
Yes, peak at the Olympics. We know that.
Someone like Daleman has a lot to prove. So her down after the Olympics may have not been as bad because she may be more energized to keep going. That could have energized her quicker. Because
we were talking in the recap of that of the Olympic event that you and Doug or whomever thought that it was really going to fuel her. And again, it's what inspires you. Man, that would be such a head trip for me if I come back from something so disastrous. But hopefully it will inspire her, not dissuade her.
Yeah, it's weird. I remember, it's like the 2014 Worlds after the Olympics were actually a really great competition. They really came out, the top none of them American, but they all came out really skating very, very well. And
there were redemption moments.
Yeah.
So it's like, for Mao, it became an emotional thing that she had her moment. She just had it at the World Championships. You know what I mean? And it's like, we'll take it.
Yeah. And, Hanyu skated well, and I think all the men there skated well. I mean, Jeremy had a great long program there. But yeah, it's not a great short. But it's interesting because I remember the 2006 Worlds watching, thinking people were going to hurt themselves when they were in Calgary. Remember Johnny fell and took his sweet ass time getting up after
wondering what he was getting back up for. Yeah. Yeah.
And Sasha's performance where we were white knuckling it to see if she would make the podium. Yeah, there were some real moments there. So, and that's how Kimmy wound up winning a world title. So it's.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you use the right opportunity here, it can really work to your benefit.
And for someone like Kimmy, she was so young. She wasn't expected to win a medal at the Olympics, so she could take it all in stride and have motivation. Right. Perhaps not have the emotional low that comes after the high of the Olympics. So, yeah, I'll be very curious in the ladies' event to see what happens. I think also Mihara could.
Oh, I'm counting on it. I need that.
You're like, oh, you need this for my life. Yes, I think. Yeah. As far as the other Russian ladies, I don't expect much this go round. I think we'll definitely see at least one Japanese lady on the podium, perhaps a Canadian, perhaps two Japanese ladies, perhaps Carolina. I think that's where. Yeah. What do you expect for the American ladies?
Did you just yawn talking about the ladies' podium, Dave? I'm calling you out on it.
Maybe I did. Not intentionally, but it was.
what is. No, I'm excited to see Wakaba. That's going to be a real thing for me. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking forward to most, I guess.
I guess, what do you expect for the American ladies? Do you have...
I have no vested interest. I'm sure Brady will go and do her job and would be a perfect kind of second-placed American lady to help solidify 3 had there been a real leader there. I don't know what to expect from Mariah. She's for sure a wild card, and I'm not going to fret over how Mariah will do.
Yeah, I think Mariah, I saw her do a triple sow, triple toe. Like, it looked like a public session she was on, but it looked like, okay, she's skating, she's getting it together, she's... All right, she's trying, you think, like...
She might have to win some favor back. She was riding a real high wave after that team event, and those comments really, really messed with her image, I think. It left us with a weird taste in our mouth about her at the end of the Olympics. So hopefully she can have like some nice...
long as I think if she skates well, no one will remember, or if she puts in a good effort. I have no expectations for any of the American ladies. I think Brady will go and skate well. As for another triple axel for Mariah, I don't know. I think anything is possible. It depends.
I kind of hope Wakaba just says, let's just try it.
I hope Wakaba does it, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, especially for her, you say she's not, in one hand, she has nothing to lose. She also has a bunch of young, talented Japanese skaters coming up behind her. Now is really the time to solidify herself, going forward and make a claim that I was robbed.
Worlds, so
I was robbed. Amelie girl didn't medal anyway, and you should have taken me. And that's the way my attitude would be with her. I would have probably been depressed for a couple of weeks, and about the moment I saw Sakamoto skate at the Olympics, I would have perked up.
Because she did that Senior B event and won it over Rika Hongo and Marin Honda. Mm-hmm. The score wasn't tremendously high or anything, but so we know she's keeping up.
Yeah.
So.
Now, how about for the men? What on earth do you expect? I think it's going to be a battle between Nathan Chen and Shoma Uno. Shoma probably has to be going in thinking he is the favorite, and you think Nathan has the redemption, and he's really been under the radar where we don't know what he's been doing, how he's been...
Right.
Yeah.
What that dynamic is like with Raph, what the jump lineup will be. It's always a series of questions that will not be answered.
Did Raph plant that article to get him in line? You always have to think there's a strategy when someone like Raph is speaking out like that. Was he also saying a message to Nathan and protecting himself? And you have to wonder if that was his way of shaming them a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Which he would have the right to do. I mean, he's the boot company to Karen Chen's boot excuses. You know what I mean? Like, it really suddenly became all about Raph letting him down or something, and I just didn't understand that mentality. For me, it's who's that third person in that mix?
Max Aaron.
I couldn't remember. No, he's not doing memories. What is he doing? Phantom.
Oh, by the way, Tom Dixon is responsible for Camden skating that free skate that we liked so well. By the way, it was so funny because I asked one person and they were like, well, we've been working with Camden, and then I found out it's Tom Dixon who...
Oh, that makes total sense, doesn't it? Like, yes. And that was exactly what you were saying. You're like, clearly there's like an artistic stamp here that's...
Yeah, and Camden has a desire to do well as well and circumvent the Tom Z approach. And use it for its benefits. So
yeah, exactly. Take that technical information and marry it with
Of course, I got a message from people being like, there are so many coaches along the way, and I acknowledge that obviously. But I saw Camden skate a year ago, and I saw him skate now, and I thought someone is responsible for a little bit of a transformation.
Of course. Well, that makes again total sense that was him. I don't know who I might envision sneaking out this bronze. Maybe Boyan Jin, if he's still healthy enough.
That would be great. Next. I don't know. I mean, no Javier. No, maybe one of the Russians. I don't know. I mean,
I do like. I like Aliyev, so I'm hoping he has a redemption free skate here.
yeah, I don't know what to expect. How will Vincent Zoe do? I mean, I think the U.S. should retain 3 spots unless it's a really disastrous Worlds to remember. You know.
But Vincent also seems like someone who went right back to the
yes,
and just kept training. So hopefully that's fine.
Oh, I'm sure Tom calculated his points. I'm sure he had highlighted ahead of him which skaters were likely not to compete. Where he, I'm sure Tom is on top of this.
Okay, got it.
You know a thirsty coach when you see it, Jonathan. You know, come on. You know. Yeah, I don't know what to expect there. And for the Canadians, it'll be, you know, no Patrick in the mix. So that's another person out of it. And
well, Nick did surprisingly well at nationals. Like, it seemed, I don't know, I'll be intrigued what kind of wave, again, he's been able to maintain since then, you know.
Now, as far as the pair goes, I think it's Aliona's to win. We saw that I saw a picture of her with Tatiana Volosjar, like, relaxed backstage as if all those years of being competitive with one another have gone by the wayside, and they looked very relaxed together.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh! And then, yeah. So I'm sure Aliona will pull this off, because Sway has had a foot fracture, so...
Right. And Megan and Eric are gone. So there's also some...
Oh, yes. I saw that Eric had a photo, and it was last night. It was a banner that said "retired and fabulous," and I was like, "Yes!"
They've earned it. They have earned that.
He has been ready to be retired for like 2 years. He is like hell to the no.
But gave that final push, which is all they needed. So, but that could be very interesting to me. Again, I don't know if you're Morozov and Tarasova, how you keep going.
Candyman.
That's.
I mean, it could medal, Jonathan.
So maybe I hope the Italians actually sneak in some.
They could medal at the Olympics. You know, I mean, I think the French. This is the French team's moment. If they're ever going to medal at a World Championships, it is this year.
It's going to be their chance to switch it up. Well, I hope that they do. Certainly, the fans are ready.
I think they have the moment. I think they're a team of intrigue, and I think there would be momentum for that to happen. And yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, you know, those Italian home crowds, those are enthusiastic audience members. No question.
I think it might be the dance team in Carolina. I think the dance team may toe push their way to a medal, and that Carolina could potentially medal if it all goes well. And
with these pairs, like, I could see it going either way, whether that kind of crowd energy and at-home atmosphere enhances or detracts.
No, I'm not sure if I dreamt this, but did Carolina intimate that she's going to keep competing, like in a Fumier type way? Yeah, I don't know if I dreamt this. Like, I'm not sure if that was real or that really happened, but I think that
Carolina, do your shows.
I think she may keep competing. So, I mean, I don't.
Well, I'm intrigued by this Mishin on-again, off-again situation, because he had disappeared for the Olympics.
Well, she probably went back home to train and get ready, so I don't know, and maybe he had to focus. Look, there could be a million reasons for what went on there, so...
Okay.
Because sometimes Russian coaches are supposed to focus on Russian athletes right before the Olympics, or even in the years, but I don't know. So, who knows? And she could have had obligations ahead of time, so I don't know.
But you think Italian dance is where they may sneak in?
I think Italian dance, yes.
Okay.
And
of course, the American switch up. What's happening?
Yeah, I think for Hubble and Donahue, I think it'll be really interesting to see if they have... I mean, they've been training more than the other teams earlier, than the other teams after, the French were still doing shows and post-Olympic commitments. So I think... For them, this is do or die. This is the moment when they have to skate.
And almost like you can't even walk away with the bronze on this one, you guys.
Yeah, a bronze will feel like, okay, you did not do it.
Yeah.
And I would worry about them going forward if they did not get the silver here. I mean, this is some pressure that they have to do well now, because their future career really depends. I don't think the judges would have any reason to... I know we're supposed to be so supportive and be like, yes, they're just hitting their stride, and it's a new season and a new view, but no, they have to.
Yeah.
I think for yourself too, for your own confidence, you have to pull this off. So
yeah, you can still write the story, the trajectory, but yeah, it will be important to do that here.
Yeah.
So
get that medal, get home, get on tour, and then get going for next season. I think you have to.
Now is your time. This is it.
Yeah, oh man, that's going to be interesting. And for the French, I think they could walk away with that title with like 3 days of training. I don't think it's a problem at this point.
And also, I'm intrigued by Stepanova and Buchan. Like, how has your motivated training been going?
For Stepanova and Buchan, yeah, I have no idea what to expect there. This is one of those worlds, I think, when the music starts, I'll get more into it. I'll be more excited once we actually see them.
Right. Well, because there's a lot that actually is refreshingly different than what we've been seeing over and over again. So a lot of people that you're like, okay, Jean-Luc and Caitlin, like, where do you end up in this mix? We've not really seen you in such a deep world field like this. So
yeah, and then for the Canadians, I guess, is it Caroline and Shane that would go, and because they were at Fort Collins, so that'll be interesting to see them as well.
And I want to see the Sandra's non-sexual James Bond program from Piper and Paul. Again, yes. Because I think, again, that was a program that interested me, but I wanted it to get more mileage before I felt like I was really appreciating it. So I'll be intrigued to see that again and how much it's grown.
Yeah, I'm cautiously open to these World Championships. I'm not optimistic. I'm open. I'm
okay.
Yeah. Like the rest of people with post-Olympic lows. I am just like, well, we'll be open to it, Jonathan. You know, we're world curious. We'll
dip a toe in that ice rink.
Look, I'm more interested in watching the World Championships than I ever am about those team events with the cheering and the high kicks by Jason Brown and the.
We don't have that this season.
I'm very glad. There was apparently supposed to be one in Spokane again, and then it was canceled, and
that's fine.
It's fine. I'm ready, Jonathan, and we will see you all back next week for our coverage of the 2018 World Figure Skating Championships.
Enjoy. Bye. It's going to be crazy.
Bye, guys. Well, hello, and welcome to the skating lesson. Marie-France Dubrueil, welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
So you have had quite the year. So walk me through the stress level over the last month. Where are you compared to where you were about a month ago?
Oh my God. I think it's since September I started to feel the tension, the stress, and I had to stop myself from projecting in the future because I knew it was going to be stressful, and honestly, it was as stressful as I thought it was going to be. So
what was the most stressful part for you this season?
Stressful was to make sure that everybody's plan worked, you know, that we planned the training and planned everything correctly so they would peak. All our teams would peak at Olympics. I mean, they're all different and they all different needs, different people. So it takes a lot of careful work in order to make a plan that really would make them peak at Olympics.
So one of the things I've heard, and I'm not sure if it's true, so you can clear this up, is that you kind of gave each of the top teams a head coach to kind of manage them or travel with them. Is that true? Like Patrice would go with Hubble and Donahue, travel with them. You were more with Tessa and Scott, and Romain would travel with the French?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I mean, we all work together. Just like we need to have an accreditation from a certain country. So Patrice is the only one that really has the, how do you call it, the U.S. coach. PSA, all of that. So Patch is always like the U.S. coach, and Romain has been affiliated with France for forever. So it's easier that way. And so, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just an accreditation.
Okay. So you have two teams and two countries that were really relying on you to deliver Olympic gold. So how did you divide that? Do they still skate all the same sessions together? Or did you divide them this year? How did you work that out?
Well, we have two ice pads, and it's easy to split the teams. I think it was necessary to have them on the same ice once in a while, but we also wanted them to have each of them some nice quality time, a little bit more by themselves. So that's how and everybody has schedule with their off ice and, different schedules. So they would pass each other in the hallway and say hi, and at least once or twice a week skate on the same session.
Okay. So I guess we'll start with each of the teams. Tessa and Scott, last year they won the World Championships. Scott did have a little bit of a stumble. What was it like getting them ready to go for the Olympics again, after not winning 4 years ago, being kind of on a high from last year, but it was a little more intense this season. It seemed harder than last year.
Well, yeah. Well, it was intense because the whole comeback was about Olympics. So, last year was a bonus for them to win Worlds. It was not even in their real plan. It was just one more competition before we got, they get to Olympics. So, when 20 months are planned for this one moment, it puts a lot of stress on this one moment. But when they got asked to be flag bearers and team captain and all this, I thought, oh my God, that's the perfect thing, because it adds, it like puts a light on something else, not only on that one performance. So now they also were looking forward to that moment, to the opening ceremonies and, and to the team event. They chose to do the whole team event because they really wanted to win gold for Canada. So they started to have like other little distraction and not only the 4-minute skate. So that was good for them. And then when Canada won the team event, to me, it was a relief. I'm like, good. So now they came back and they have a team gold. So at least that's that. And then we'll see for the individual. But it was sort of a relief to see them with a gold medal early in the week.
So how about their free dance this season? Because it seems like the short dance was going along really well. And their free dance, they were not getting the scores perhaps that they wanted. So what was the challenge with Moulin Rouge? We saw a couple little bobbles throughout the season. You changed the program mid-season. So, talk us through kind of the thought process and why you made the changes you did.
Well, the Moulin Rouge, of course, was a music that was very used, but a lot in skating. And but Tessa and Scott were really, really in love with that piece. So I really, listened to the whole album for days and days and really try to talk with David Wilson about it. And we tried to make a program that reflected the mature skaters that they now are at 28 and 30. And what was appealing to us was that Moulin Rouge talks about jealousy and love. And it's, it has a sensual theme, but it also has a beautiful love story. So we started with the idea of making it very dark and contemporary, and I really like that edge. But mid-season, we realized that it didn't have the final impact we were looking for. At first, I was a little bit not fully on board with having the big Olympic ending, like that to me was a little bit Disney-like. But then after after Grand Prix final, Tessa and Scott came to me and said, you know what, I think we would like to try the big ending. They were looking to have a standing ovation, like just a good feel-good moment at the end. And I said, okay, let me look into it. And then I listened to the album again. And then I started to understand what was really missing from the first version was actually a longer love story. So that's where I changed the edit to have the duet and have, the real feeling of the love story. And then they wanted the crescendo ending, so we were able to make that work. But she still died at the end. It was still a little dark. But the music, I think with that edit, the love story was really missing from the first. The introspection of, the guy's voice was a little too long. And then as soon as it went to I love you, she died. So it didn't give us enough of what everybody likes Tessa and Scott.
Mm-hmm. So when you have the two top teams and they finally face off, how much pressure is that? Because as soon as they do, someone is going to be unhappy. So how do you manage that as a coach?
Well, of course. I mean, it's hard as a coach to manage the disappointment of a team, because we knew all this time that one would be happy, one would be sad. Mm-hmm. But I tried to pull myself a little bit away from that, because our job was to reunite them in training, make them the best so they would separate from the rest of the field, you know. And then it's the judge's job to separate them. It's not mine. I mean, us as a school, if we just walk back and look at the big picture, I think we've done fantastic work. And both teams skated at the best of their capacity. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I have to be happy and proud of.
Okay. So now let's talk costumes. What happened with Gabriela Papadakis' dress? It looked like she was wearing the same dress all season. What happened at the Olympics?
Well, it was actually a new top.
Okay.
It was a new top. Similar to the old one, but it was a new one. And we actually sewed the top because we thought it was like a little fragile the way it was all organized up top. So every practice we sewed it, never a problem. And then at competition, we sewed it, and it didn't work that well. I mean, we were mortified. It just popped open at second 3, I think, in the program. And till this day, I wonder how it stayed on her.
Okay.
It could have, I don't know. I was mortified. It was a very long 3 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know how it stayed on in the twizzle. I don't know how it stayed on in the lift. I mean, poor Gabby she stayed focused. It was amazing what she was able to do. That's because they were so well trained, they were able to do this. And Guillaume tried to pull it up every time he had a chance. And oh my God, only a team with that, their calm and that composure could have made that work. It was not fun.
Was it a problem in the warm-up? I mean, did you know that the dress was fragile before they went out, or was it even on your mind?
No. We sewed it. I trusted it was going to hold, because it did for every practice. We did the same thing. Put the dress on, sewed, just to make sure. So I don't know. I have no answers.
Okay. As they move forward, I guess, at what point do they start getting ready for the Worlds? So at what point, how do you kick them into high gear? Allow someone to come down from Olympics and then get back to work? How much time do you give them?
Well, they're not back yet. Yeah, they're not back yet. They were in France doing media and some shows in Grenoble for the 50th anniversary of Olympics. And tonight they're in London with Christopher Dean's show. Mm-hmm. So they'll be back Monday night, and then start training Tuesday. And there's only 10 days really to train at home before they go to Worlds. So I think it will go very, very quickly, but they're in shape. They just now have to repeat and rest, and that's that.
Is there much training to do for them between Olympics? It's just maintaining, or what do you even trying to?
I would say maintaining, because for Olympics they were so ready. I mean, they were trained like Ferraris. They were perfectly trained. So now it's just maintaining and resting and taking vitamins to make sure, the body holds for another 10 days.
Okay. Now, as you look forward, we've seen them do a very lyrical style for their free dance. Have you thought about the next 4 years and, what's next for them?
Not yet. I really need to take a break after Worlds. And reset and think about what direction we want to push them, or what we want to develop in their style, because they're super talented. They're still young. There's so much more that we want to do, but it's also a conversation that I want to have with them, because they're very involved in everything that's music and costume and choreography. So it will be a nice conversation to have, but 2 weeks after Worlds.
Yeah. And how much time do you take off? Because last year, I remember you telling me you were going to go on a yoga retreat and you were in Mexico and then you cut it short to start choreography.
Yeah. So... I had no time to do this, so hopefully this year I can do that.
Do you even think of ideas or music ahead of time? Does it come to you or do you just wait?
Well, normally by this time I have files for everybody, but this year I was unable to do this.
Okay.
It was too much to handle, and I really wanted to be full on, Olympics and finish this season, and then I'll move on. And I think with rest, everything will start to be more clear because now I can't even listen to music in my car.
Where are you vacationing this year? Somewhere...
Actually, we're going to stay in Italy a little bit, and we're going to take a cruise.
Okay.
From Rome. I'm taking my daughter, and we're going to make a little bit of a family time there because we didn't see her for 19 days because of Olympics. So now we have to make it up to her a little bit.
So Madison and Zach, you have got them so close to a world and Olympic medal. What has this process been like?
The process, I mean, Maddie and Zach have worked so hard. They've trained well. They've worked hard. All of the goals they set for themselves this year, they've met. Even like winning nationals was a big deal for them. I mean, it was probably, besides going to Olympics, probably their life goal was to be one day national champions. And looking back, I mean, of course, being so close to an Olympic medal and then being fourth is sad, but being fourth at their first Olympics, and I think, if they just can put this little deception aside and look at the big picture on how their season went and just keep training and push through the Worlds, I think they could do really well.
Mm-hmm. What did you change from last year to this year? Because I heard you were not a happy camper after those twizzles at Worlds. And we've seen you watch these programs now. NBC had a camera on you, which was one of the highlights of the Olympics.
Oh, my. How embarrassing.
So how did you will them to do better? What did you change from last year to this year?
Well, training, consistency, and planning, and believing in their abilities. And I've trained them like I trained Tessa, Scott, and Gabby and Guillaume. Mm-hmm. I didn't train them to be third. I trained them to win. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I believe they can be world champions, but I treated them like champions, the same as I did with Gabby, Guillaume, Tessa, Scott. That's what we did.
Okay. And are you going to push them harder next year, or what is the...
Oh, I'm always pushing them.
Okay.
I'm always pushing them. That I never stop.
Okay. Now, no, are they going to be training all together again next year? You still use the 2 ice pads, or what will you do for...
Well, we have 17 teams. We need to use the 2 ice pads, and yes, they will train together, but like I said, it's a whole, it's a big organization now to fit all these teams with, we are now 4 or 5 coaches, ice coaches, and yeah, it's a lot of management.
So someone that people have been curious about is Stephanie, who the performance coach, life coach. Talk about her impact and, her work that you've done.
Well, I've been working with her for many years, actually, since 2004 or 2003. So we've been working together for a long time. She was our performance coach when we competed. And the work she does with the athletes is really helpful to us, because then she takes care of a lot of things. So there's nothing in the way when it's time for me to coach them. They're clear. They know what they're doing. They've got rid of what's not necessary and are focused to move forward. So it's very helpful to me.
Now, with 17 teams, does that mean that you have 34 programs to do for next year? Will you collaborate? What are you doing? Yeah.
Oh my God. But actually, Romain is doing a lot of the programs, especially for the juniors. He's really, really good to choreograph for the younger teams. I don't always have that patience. And Patrice is also helping a lot because he's doing choreography for a lot of the elements. Mm-hmm. So it ends up being a collaboration, you know. Mm-hmm. I plan the music, I do the program plan, I do choreography of the transition, but a lot of the elements are done by Patrice, and Romain will always pitch in, and if I feel like I can't see the rest, then somebody else will will come and help. And I also work with Samuel Chouinard, and Ginette Cournoyer is a ballroom coach that I use a lot also for short dances. She's fabulous.
Okay. So now what does Sam Chouinard do? I guess, how do you interact your career? He's always on Instagram, touching up stuff, adding movement. So I guess, how do you collaborate with him?
Sam is amazing. I mean, he's like my brother from another mother, because we have a similar way of seeing movements and hearing music, and very rarely we don't agree on a direction. So it's fantastic for me to collaborate with him. Like the Moulin Rouge, I was having trouble seeing how to make Roxanne, you know, more contemporary or more modern. So I asked Sam, go in the studio and play on the floor. Just go play on Roxanne, see what can come out of those two with that music. And he did so, and it really inspired me to push through with that project. And also it inspired Tessa and Scott, because they were, you know, even if everything they did on the floor we didn't use on the ice, there was an inspiration and a way of movement that was created on the floor that we could use to create the program on the ice.
Okay. So what is next for Tessa and Scott? Now that they have won Olympic gold, do you have more programs for them, for shows? I mean, the Tragically Hip are not big in the U.S., so... No. Yeah. We didn't get that reference, you know.
No.
So.
No, that was fully Canadian, but it was important for him to do that, so I'm happy they did. They choreographed that number themselves. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was special to them. But they're gonna come back to Montreal for sure. Now they're doing media, they're at home, so they'll be back to choreograph their pieces for Stars on Ice. But I don't really have any details on that for now.
I didn't know if you had any artistic ideas you wanted to share for them, because the whole world is into the heat that you talked about them having with one another. So we knew that Nikolai Sorensen is going to be representing Canada. When can he start competing? Does he have to take the full year off, or?
A full year. They can do nationals and competition within Canada, but internationally it's a year. So their last competition was Europeans. Mm-hmm. So they can start competing internationally next end of January.
Mm-hmm. When did you find out that the citizenship wasn't going to work for Denmark? And how do you kind of navigate that in the middle of...
Well, the federation, Marianne at the Danish Federation, was fantastic, and she did everything she could. But politically, it's impossible for Laurence to have a passport. Okay. She would need to, I think, to live in the country like 10 years. Okay. It was impossible. So there was a point where I told them, if doing Olympics is really your dream, then you have no choice, you know. So it came down to, do you really want to continue for 4 years and do Olympics, or stay for Denmark and never go to Olympics? So it was a hard decision for him. You know, he felt like he's happy now to represent Canada, but he was proud of representing Denmark for sure.
So how long does it take to get Canadian citizenship? Is that another nightmare to walk into? Because in the U.S. it could take up to 7 years.
Yeah, no, but they have an immigration lawyer, sorry. Okay. And he has his work permit already, and, you know, because he's been living here. Mm-hmm. So the process was started. Okay. already.
Okay. Now you have the baby Canadians coming up that we saw at Four Continents. So, will they be at the World Championships?
Caroline and Shane. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Caro and Shane are going to their first World, so it's very exciting for them, and they've been doing well. They did really good at Four Continents, and they improve every day. So they're an exciting team.
Now Olivia and Adria were in the middle of a very controversial competition in December. What happened? This has been one of the most suggested. Phil Hirsch has covered it a lot. The ice dance event, the results are, debated. So I guess, were you happy with how they skated at that competition?
You know what? I don't think I want to talk about that competition.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No. It was a mess. It was a mess, and I don't think I can talk about it.
Okay.
It almost made me quit my job.
Oh.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was not respectful for our sport or for the athletes. So
I guess for Olivia and Adria missing out on going to the Olympics, how do you, with such a big disappointment, how do you change your plans going forward? Is it likely Spain can get 2 teams? Is this going to be a situation that they will have to compete for a lot? I guess, what is the future like in that?
Well, Oli and Adri, they missed Olympics, but they're going to Worlds. And as soon as that decision was final from the Spanish Federation, they just started to look up to, to Worlds and train towards that. There's nothing we could do. Mm-hmm. Spain is also in a new situation where they have 2 teams that are, of the very similar level, if not the same level. So it's, they don't really know how to deal with that situation. And the rules of qualifications were really, they were what they were. But Oli and Adri are national champions and now going to Worlds, and the Olympics are already in the past.
Mm-hmm. So as you move forward to Worlds, have you gotten amped up for it yet? Are you excited for it? Or are you feeling the same exhaustion that your skaters are?
I think I'm starting to look up to it. Last week I was just a mess. Still jet lagged and waking up at 2 a.m. and going to work like a zombie. But no, I think it's going to be fun because some of the veterans are now going, and then it gives new opportunity to other kids. And Worlds in Italy, I think it's going to be fabulous.
Mm-hmm. So for Madison and Zach, they now have obviously are favorites for medal going here. How different is that going to be for them, competing with that pressure? They've always been chasing, and now they're right in. Is that a different mental space to be in?
Maddie and Zach, it doesn't change their job. Mm-hmm. Right now, what we're looking for is consistency, and they just have to keep training harder, but also training like really good quality programs, like they're competing every day. Mm-hmm. If they do this, the pressure will be less. Okay. Because the real pressure in competition is facing your own self. So that's, I think if they feel prepared, and they'll skate a good program.
And for Gabby and Guillaume, they've been getting so many world records. There aren't many points more that they can be getting. So how do you look for improvement? Because knowing that scores are scores, but that's not necessarily...
Well, they're both perfectionists, especially Guillaume. Mm-hmm. And there's always going to be something to work on. Always.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck at the upcoming World Championships, and hopefully you get a great break, Marie-France.
Oh, I hope so.